A very good afternoon to everybody that's joining us for our last Wednesday of June. Can you believe time is really flying? I know when we started this in April, we thought it was going to only be an April thing, and it's just really continued with a lot of support from everybody. I'm Neil Barker, I'm from Oracle Media, and it's in conversation every single Wednesday at 3 o'clock right here on the Oracle Media Facebook page. And today I don't know if I should say doctor, but I'll say Dr. Beulah van der Westhuizen is joining us all the way from Cape Town.
Thank you, Neil. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for the invitation.
Anytime. How's the weather in Cape Town? Is it windy?
Do you know what? Yes, we've had our stormy weather, and that's why I came to Cape Town. I really do enjoy the weather. But today it's warmer, but because I'm sitting inside, it's cold where I'm sitting. But the next few days, we're going to have some stormy rain, wind. Yeah, but I love it. I really do love it.
No, look, it's nice in Johannesburg with the cold winter we're having. There's no wind or anything like that. It's literally just cold weather, no wind, no rain. Just a nice place to be in and enjoy it. Like, I love making fire at night. It's my thing that I love.
So part of why I came to Cape Town, is because of the weather. I love the weather, so I'm quite happy.
Well, you're quite close to the beach. You can walk.
Yes, I can.
So for those joining us today, I'd like to know where you're joining us from. You know how it works. You need to go to the comment box. Tell us, are you joining us from PE, Cape Town, Johannesburg, Durban? And then it's also the session is open for questions. We're going to be talking to Beulah. She is the owner of EduExcellence, which she started a few years ago. We're going to go into how she started at first and what brought in the idea, and also some background on Beulah before we also start off. And You'll be able to ask Beulah any questions with regards to our talk today while we are live for the next half an hour, and she'll be able to give you feedback in that. So first, while you are joining, I can see there's quite a few people that's joined us. I'd love to know where you're from, and do just comment in the comment box with regards to that. So Beulah, just give us some background on how did you get into EduExcellence?
Yes, so I'm an educational psychologist, and very soon after I've graduated and started my own private practice, I actually saw that the training that we've received is really lacking in going deep. I wanted to understand why children are struggling with school, and not only that they are struggling, because usually when we assess, we would tell parents, yes, your child is behind in reading or writing, and they might be behind 6 months or a year, but it never really got to the root component. And I then decided to do an additional year internship in terms of neurodevelopment specifically. And when I opened up my private practice, I then specialized in children with learning problems, ADD, ADHD, and now children that's on the autistic spectrum. And whilst I was working with the parents and giving them this whole home-based program that we use in neurodevelopment, I realized that the parents are too busy. They can't really do the work that I want them to do. And the moment you work with neurodevelopment, there needs to be, it's a very structured way in which we apply the therapy. So then I decided, you know what, to solve this problem, I'm going to open up a school. So I've opened up EduExcellence with 16 boys in 2007, and basically just I fine-tuned the therapy model, which I call TheraEd. And after that, we've expanded, and now we've got 2 campuses, and we've just launched our online campus as well. So in a nutshell, that is how I came about having or creating or founding EduExcellence. And I think the main feature there is the TheraEd curriculum. So there is an additional curriculum apart from the academic curriculum, because we do understand that if the brain is not ready to receive information, the academic work, then it won't, there's no use actually in giving the academic work if the brain is not in a state of receivership. So TheraEd is then a specific curriculum designed where we use the environment and daily therapy and neurodevelopmental activities that's founded in science and in research to actually structure and build the brain.
So you've grown the school from 2007 to where it is now, but you've also, that's one part of your success, but you've also shared the stage with quite a few celebrities, and I need to bring that up. So, so how was it to share the stage with Dr. Phil?
Obviously, in my field, there is no bigger person to talk to than Dr. Phil.
And this is Dr. Phil from America, the television.
This is the Dr. Phil. So I would really almost say that was the highlight of my professional career. And it was very nice to talk to him about the reasons why people actually don't fulfill on their human potential. So he's an absolute, he's educated in a variety of fields. But why I like neurodevelopment is the fact that it doesn't really matter what field you are in. It all boils down to the brain. So that's why I enjoyed having the conversation with him, because he understood that. And yeah, it was just a very interesting experience, a very nice experience. He's a gentleman. I enjoyed it. Yeah.
And where are these photos, Beulah?
They are on my website. So it's meetdrbeulah.com. Yeah. So people are more than welcome to go and have a look there. I don't have all the photos up there, but there is a link to the interview. There's also a link to an interview with Vanilla Ice. Yeah. And I was very fortunate to be able for him to open up about the fact that he's OCD and ADD and how he manages his environment to support his condition in such a way that he can really, he's a phenomenal businessman. And I think that is almost the message that I want to bring to our parents, because the children that I'm working with will inevitably be entrepreneurs. So it is this mindset, the fact that we can hold more than one thing and pay our attention to more than one thing, that is actually one of the trades of an entrepreneur. And Vanilla Ice just illustrated it so well that it's a gift, you know, but he needs to manage it in a very specific way. So there's also a clip of that interview on there.
I see some on the site at the moment.
Oh. Yes, you can. Thank you.
Let's bring it on.
Thank you.
There we go. Let me just, I thought, why not?
Yes.
So there you are interviewing Dr. Phil.
Thank you, Dr. Phil. My next question is about neurodevelopment, a field that I've been studying for my whole career. And after seeing a lot of patients and helping a lot of them, I've realized that most of them function at a fraction of their potential. Why do you think this is so, and what is the potential impact?
Well, I think you're right, by the way.
It's a long answer.
I completed 2 tracks in my PhD program. One was the clinical track.
So Beulah, take us through that specifically, because that must have been mind-blowing to sit on the stage with Dr. Phil and ask him the questions and to get that opportunity. How were you stressed throughout? How was that feel?
It was the second time that I've met him, I must just say that. So the first time it was just a brief encounter. So it was actually, in 2018 I briefly met him. And then in 2019, the end of last year, I actually visited his studio where I watched him, you know, record 3 of his shows. And then I had the interview afterwards. So it wasn't as if it was cold, which also always helps. But of course I was nervous. I mean, as I said, there's no bigger icon in my industry that has done so much for psychology and for reaching out and creating an awareness than Dr. Phil. So it was really mind-blowing. But he's also got he's very calm, and the way he makes eye contact really calms one down. So, yeah, I really enjoyed just listening to him.
Well, it's nice to get that opportunity, and also it shows your expertise in South Africa, but also abroad. And before we get into education in South Africa specifically, you also had the opportunity to go and speak overseas at the beginning of the year. Do you want to take us through that?
Yeah, so I spoke at the second European Autism Conference in Budapest. It was a fantastic conference as well, and that was an opportunity to really network with like-minded individuals. And I was fortunate to be nominated there in terms of my contribution to the field of autism specifically, and more specifically in terms of the neurodevelopmental component that I bring in. And what I presented there was the IMap and the IDevelop programs, which are a specific way in which I map the neurodevelopmental process and progress of children so that we can actually design very individualized programs for children. So that is why I got that prize or nomination or whatever you want to call it. But what I found was the networking, and really listening to what is happening in terms of what people are researching. And also I was quite surprised that there were a number of countries there where the awareness is only starting to open up now. So one would think that people are very aware of autism considering the numbers.
Yeah.
But it was interesting to hear that there are countries that are actually only stepping into this now.
Oh, wow. What an opportunity to also speak at that. And I think it just shows what expertise you currently have in the field. Now, if we have to talk about our history and education within the SA context, where would you start and what would you say?
The history, I think it's difficult. I'd rather want to go in where we're heading. I think, I think it's a tricky thing to go into the history because we know that South African, the educational system might not have always been what we would want. But what's happening now, and with the coronavirus specifically and the rollout of that, it has triggered so many questions in terms of our educational system and why we do certain things the way we do it, and also the opportunities that opened up. So for us, it was definitely the opportunity of creating an online satellite or a satellite. What I would like parents to understand, though, is the terminology that's being used. So homeschooling is a concept that is known in South Africa, and that's also actually identified at the Department of Education on their website as a parent homeschooling their child. So when parents place their children in centers that say that they are homeschooling, that's actually not accordingly to the definition of homeschooling. And then there's a lot of organizations now that then say, well, they do or bring their curriculum online, but they are curriculum providers. So there's a difference between homeschooling, curriculum providers, going online, which is your medium, and then online schooling. A lot of companies use the word schooling as a collective concept. In other words, it's like Teachable. In Teachable, you will register a school, but it's not a school. What we are doing and in EduExcellence is the fact that we are bringing real school online. In other words, there will be a specific teacher. You will have your classmates. We will still design your developmental program for you. You will still have access to the counselors. So it's basically just the fact that we don't have a physical school. But apart from that, everything else is actually still, school.
Yes.
Because I think that is one of the main things. If you go online and you just go with a curriculum provider, you do not have the support. And parents are not necessarily trained in educating their children. And I have a firm belief that a mother or a father should remain that. They should remain parents. The moment you step over the threshold of becoming a teacher, you risk your relationship with your child. And it might be one thing to have the heart to want to teach your child, but if you don't have the skill set, because there's a very specific skill set in the way you actually educate, then you might miss things. And I mean, we are seeing it now in our new applications that come, for the satellites. When we evaluate the children that's coming in, we often see that they are not on the same level in terms of all their subjects. So they might be high in English, but very low in math. So we can't place them on a grade level. And I think that is the risk that sometimes that is there when it's not a planned and a scheduled process. So, yeah, in a nutshell, that's, I think, what's happening at the moment.
And do you think online schooling almost deprives the child of meeting other kids or socializing in that sense?
Well, I think at the moment there is this there is a difficulty in terms of we are not allowed to. But in general, yes, I do think if it's only a one-on-one online. So again, the terminology, it's an online setup. The moment you actually do online schooling, you won't have that problem, because then you will be placed in a class and you will have classmates. The only thing is there will be a screen in between you. But if you only do the online component, then definitely, if the parent, then it's the parents' responsibility to make sure that there are additional activities where they can actually socialize and have the opportunity to learn those skills, because a lot of children would want to avoid the socialization, but it might be because they are struggling and therefore they actually need to learn the skill.
And now looking at the school year so far, most kids haven't had formal schooling. Not everybody's got Zoom or technology to do so. How's the current pandemic affecting schooling in 2020? Will the kids actually finish the curriculum this year?
Well, the Department of Education has released a reduced curriculum for the year. In other words, they have, hello, I see there are people that know me. So they have seen that they have to reduce the content of the, make it less. So they actually did that. We were lucky that we've really, I think, missed only something like 6 days or 7 days in our whole, the way that we've rolled it out. We are fortunate because our children have access to computers and to airtime and to all of that, whereas other schools might not have that. So I do believe at the end of the day, once children go back, there will have to be some measure in terms of, is this a strong learner, and would this learner, had they had the opportunity, actually would they pass? But the consequence of that is not necessarily seen this year. It might be seen in the rollout or the following years. So I actually don't know what the Department of Education will do in terms of their policy. I'm sad for the learners that were not able to continue their schooling online, because this would then, in that case, be a year that was lost.
Yes. And then you had a big announcement, EduExcellence, obviously going online and so forth. Take us through that. What does that mean?
Well, it just means, so we have 2 campuses at the moment, physical campuses where children can actually have remedial education with the TheraEd curriculum, which is the neurodevelopmental component. And pretty soon, just after the lockdown, my partner and I, Neil Bresler, we had a sort of like an informal conversation, and the conversation was around how we loved the fact that all of a sudden everything is immediately available. So it was around our meetings and all of that. And then we started talking about, well, what does this open up for us? And what we've realized is that it immediately opens up the rest of South Africa, because we always had a dream, and we still have the dream, to take EduExcellence further than only the 2 campuses and actually make remedial education available to all those children who actually are in need of education, remedial education. But it is quite a process for us to establish campuses. You know, it's a long process of compliance and the municipal aspects and registering the schools. So for us to create new campuses takes quite a long time. Yeah. And this immediately opened up the possibility that we can enroll children throughout South Africa, and they can have access to our method of remediation, as well as aspects of the neurodevelopmental component. Obviously, now we will have to train parents, because we have a very specific model, and we will have to train the parents to understand how to read neurodevelopmental signs and physiological stress, and how to work with the environment, because part of TheraEd is the fact that we use our environment therapeutically. But it is possible. So yes, then we've launched, and we've had applications throughout South Africa. So yeah, and that was the nice thing. I mean, it's one thing to have a child that's 20 kilometers away from our school. Now all of a sudden we've got people in KwaZulu-Natal and Limpopo. You know, all of a sudden there's access to what we do, and it will allow us then to, the moment we've got 10 children in an area, to actually go into that area and actually open up a physical school.
Oh, wow. There's a lot of growth within the brand towards the future, online and obviously in real school as well. Now, what is the difference between online school and real school online?
So as I've explained, you know, a lot of parents think because they go online, let's say they buy an online curriculum.
Yes.
That is only actually a curriculum provider. In other words, you go at your own pace. There's no teacher that's going to take you through the curriculum. If there's a glitch and your child does not understand, there's no one, apart from the fact that you can Google and get everything on YouTube.
So that's the problem where parents take them through it,
yes,
and the curriculum. And then if you look at real school online, that's basically what EduExcellence is offering, with the teachers taking them through it.
Yeah, in other words, we have a whole school structure. We've appointed a principal. We've appointed a front office administrator. There will be therapists. There will be teachers. In other words, you will have your own teacher, whereas other schools or other systems, you might have a tutor for this subject and a tutor for that subject. And the problem is, and I think this is the main thing, because you can get everything online. Nowadays, you can just Google and there will be a lesson. But if you don't structure your lessons, then the scaffolding, because there's a specific scaffolding in which you actually need to address your curriculum, then there can be gaps. So this is a structured school. We've got a whole, it's like a school. The only thing is it's just not in a physical location. But the children will have classrooms with their friends. They will have team projects. They will have online therapy. They will do everything as if they are at a school. The only thing is they are not physically in the same location.
Wow. So that's really taking technology to another level in terms of that. Now, innovation in educational space and how being agile to extend beyond our schooling into an online assessment. Now, I know previously you've mentioned assessments and so forth. How important is that? And just go through the innovation part there.
Yes, so up to, and that's why I went to the European Autism Conference, is to present the IMap and the IDevelop. And that is, as I've said, the method in which I document and get information in as to the children's neurodevelopmental processes and profiles. And it's actually quite interesting, because just as I went to the conference, I mean, that was in February, I was so proud of the fact that we've just now established this. It is well thought out. I've worked many, many years in terms of getting to this point. And then in the next month, we had the rug was pulled from under us, because that whole system was based on the fact that we can do assessments face to face.
Yeah.
And part of a neurodevelopmental assessment is actually in the art of observation. It's in the skill in terms of how you observe. So we had to very quickly actually move our whole assessment process online, and we had to do that alongside the launch of the EduExcellence satellites. So again, it's in quick thinking, taking what you've got, adapting that, and rolling it out as quickly as possible, actually. And we've now assessed children which we have not seen in, physically, but and this is a testament to our process, because the amount of information that we can gather from a child is actually phenomenal. We don't really need to see the child physically. So it again just proved the theory behind our assessments and the level of detail that we work with. Yeah.
It just shows you how technology has changed everything and how do things. I'm going to get into the questions now that's being asked. So if there's got questions for Beulah, please do so, and we'll be able to pose that to her. So just go to the comment side. Tell us your thoughts. Are you agreeing with what we're saying today? Do you have any questions with regards to schooling or anything like that, online schooling, your kids specifically? Any questions you'd like to ask there? Time to get some free advice from Beulah before she charges. So do go to our comment side and just interact with regards to that. Then Sahel's asking here, with education being more and more online based, how would this affect teaching as a profession?
Yeah, I think part of what has come to fore now is teaching the whole concept. And it was quite interesting, if you look at why schools actually started in the beginning, it was in the Industrial Revolution when schools were actually created to keep children busy so that the parents could work. And now we were thrown into this thing, and I could see those parents who actually just wanted to send their children to school so they can work. Very interesting times for us. But during this time, we could also see, I could see the true nature of teaching. And some of our teachers were able to adapt to the online system very quickly. And then there were quite a number of teachers that really, really struggled. And it is because of the fact that teachers are innately contact-orientated people. And from my conversations with our parents, with our teachers, what they missed the most was the interaction with children. And just being in front of them and actually working their magic, because that is what teachers do. They work their magic in front of children. So there has been sort of like a divide in terms of those teachers that